Um, Hello everyone. I will be explaining a very interesting concept on operating system as a part of my digital assignment for the course that goes by the same name. So the topic that I have decided to explain is disk fragmentations and disk defragmentation techniques in operating system. So let me quickly give my introduction. Well, I am UJJWAL Pandey, a student from Computer Science branch in VIT Chennai. You can see my contact details here. Just feel free to contact me at any time. So let's quickly see what topics we will be covering as a part of this video. So at first we will see what actually is a disk fragmentation process, and then we will see how can we prevent this process of disk fragmentation, and then later we will see when should you actually do defragmentation, and at last we will see what are the various techniques for your operating system that can help you do disk defragmentation. So let's quickly get started with our first topic. What is fragmentation? Well, fragmentation is a process, a very natural process that occurs in everyone's computer. After some years you have purchased it. So when you try to actually store a file in your operating system always tries its best to store the file and the data associated with it in the contiguous locations, and it is very obvious why it does that, because later it is very easier for the operating system to retrieve the data that is available in a contiguous memory location. But let's suppose after some years you have purchased and the fragmentation process has already started, and then if you try to store a very large file, in respect to the amount of free contiguous space that is available, then your operating system simply can't store all the part of the file in the contiguous location, as contiguous location is very scarce. So what it will try is called divide and store technique, in which your very large file will be splitted into multiple fragments of smaller size, and then the operating system will store that particular fragments at different locations on the disk, and this whole process is called the process of fragmentation. I have an image to show you how actually a fragmented and a defragmented disk actually looks. On the left you can see there is a fragmented disk, and on my right you can see the defragmented disk. So the fragmented disk actually looks like the data, that the part of the files are splitted across the circular platter of the disk, and while a defragmented disk looks like a very circular in a very nice circular contiguous locations. So you can already get an idea that that it is very tough to retrieve the fragmented data as compared to the defragmented data, as all the parts are available in a circular contiguous location. So now the very big question: how can you actually prevent all this process of fragmentation from happening in your particular computer or in your particular operating system? Because there is a this is a very strong relation between operating system and disk fragmentation, which we will see in the upcoming slides. So how can you actually prevent this? So as we have seen that the fragmentation is really a very big issue, which over a very large time will bring down the best of the best processors that are available in the market to its knees. So it doesn't matter if you have the most expensive processor available. Once the fragmentation process has started, your computer will simply start performing below average than you have actually intended. And that's the probable reason why people complain that Windows operating system over time starts running very slow. So that's the reason why personally I'd never use Windows as a part of development. But unfortunately there is actually no method to prevent this fragmentation from happening, because as we have seen, this process is very natural, and in some regard it is very useful also, because storing in contiguous location is not always optimal, and also it is not always possible, because if the space on a particular circular array is limited, then the operating system has to go on the next location for it to store the same part of the file. So in the starting, like when you have a very new computer, in the starting the fragmentation might not be a very big issue, but as the time goes on, you will start to have a feel like fragmentation has really brought your processor has made your processor very slow. So in actually fragmentation over a large time is really a very bad issue. Here on the right, I have taken a screenshot from my particular Windows operating system from the task manager. You can see that there is 100% disk utilization, although I am not copying or pasting or deleting anything, but the system itself uses a large fraction of the disk. And you can search on the internet also that people that the users of the operating system actually face what is called 100% disk utilization problem, in which actually every time, or I may say like most of the time, it's very annoying that you see your computer actually lag while you are not actually performing any operation on the operating system. Actually the problem is not with the operating system, but your disk has really got fragmented in a very bad manner. So that's called 100% disk utilization issue. You can search it on the internet for more information. Now getting on to the next topic, when actually you should try to do disk defragmentation on your own. So as we have seen in the previous slides, that fragmentation over a very large time is pretty bad, but everybody will have the same doubt that do we actually need to do disk defragmentation manually. I would say that in some regard it's true, and in some regard it's not true. Actually it depends on the operating system, but for your knowledge, there also exists lots of third-party tools and softwares for this, which you can try. But in the next section, like in the next slide, I will try to show you like how it depends on various operating system and the various type of file system that is currently available. So let's talk about first solid state drives that are new in the market, very new technology. So well, there is a very good news that actually we don't need to do the disk defragmentation because like SSDs don't use the traditional spinning platter technique that is available on the hard disk on a very traditional HDD. If you even if you try to do disk defragmentation, it won't have any significant performance improvement because you actually don't need it. That is the reason why solid state drives are good in performance as compared to a normal hard disk. That is why solid state drives are most expensive as compared to a normal hard drive, but they are pretty new in the market, so it's also very expensive because of that reason also. Next, let's talk about some operating systems. Like some operating systems like Windows 7 or 8 actually has a very nice method of scheduled automatic defragmentation. Actually you can search it if you go to the settings, there is a tool that will let you schedule the defragmentation process that your operating system will automatically carry it out. But recently I have seen some complaints about like the process that operating system carries it automatically is not very optimal. Like some files are still even after operating system has defragmented the disk, still they face the problem of lagging. So I guess in this case actually you need to manually do the defragmentation after certain amount of time. Now let's talk about the very famous operating system, the open source one, the Linux operating system, which I personally use up to a very great extent. But there is a very common myth among the users that actually Linux disks never defragments at all. In this regard also it's true up to some extent, but here the most nice thing is that like we don't really have to worry about the fragmentation issue here. Why it is that? Because Linux has got a very excellent file journaling system. File journaling system, if I say, is like a data structure, like a journal is like a data structure in your operating system that keeps record of all the files that are stored in the hard disk. If you want to know more about it, just search it on the internet, as it is a concept of some other topic, so I won't be discussing it here. But for your knowledge, you know, those who have used operating system for a quite long time, they will know that Windows actually uses NTFS, new technology file system, for storing the file in the hard disk. But Linux on the other hand uses ext 2, 3 and 4 file systems. For these also, just feel free to search it on the internet, because it will get because it's not part of the topic. So at last I would like to discuss various techniques on how you can do disk defragmentation. So let's talk about some popular softwares that are available on different operating system, and that those softwares are called defragmenters, which are precisely developed for this task only. What they actually do is they go into the operating system disk and physically reassembles all the files again into the contiguous clusters. And in some cases, like in some softwares also will help you free up some unwanted space, which will provide you with more free contiguous locations. And there are some softwares like CC Clean, which is available, I guess, both on like Windows and Mac. And personally I use Stasher for the Linux operating system, because it's very simple and it's also very optimal to use. Now talking about a very nice technique that I have here is, actually you can do this very easy trick. What you all need to do is, just if you have like just buy an external hard disk and copy all the contents from your computer hard disk into that particular hard disk, and then delete all the contents from your personal computer's hard drive. Now when you copy it back to your computer's hard disk, the data will almost resemble in a very orderly fashion. Thus it will remove the fragmentation. It's almost like after you delete the data from your personal computer's hard drive, it's almost like you have bought a new computer. And we know that when you have a new computer, and at that particular point of time, if you try to store the data, it will be stored contiguously. So that's a very nice and easy technique as compared to downloading and using defragmenter. Now I will show you a demo of how a Windows automatic scheduler defragmenter actually performs the disk defragmentation technique. So just watch the video for a short and I will explain it. Here all the colored elements represents the fragments that belongs to the single file, and we can see like a nice indexing of the different parts of the file. So initially you would have saw like the blue file one was not stored on the contiguous location, but after like pushing and popping the data here and there, the defragmenter has actually succeeded in reassembling all the files into the contiguous location. This is how actually the Windows disk Platter file system actually does the defragmentation automatically. Now this is actually a screenshot from my personal computer from the Linux operating system that I use. Actually I haven't done disk defragmentation yet, so you can see like my data is split across many parts of the hard disk. It's a screenshot from the Stasher. I personally use Stasher for the Linux. So that's all for this video. Thank you for listening me. If you have any question, just feel free to contact me at any time in the given email ID. I will be very honored to answer your queries. Thank you.